You asked me 5 years ago about birds, I've been like, oh, yeah, they're cool. But now I'm like looking out the window with my morning coffee, like looking at birds. It's crazy.
Yeah. Do you wonder if they're real or not?
It's all simulation. Sometimes, no.
Hi everyone, my name is Dro. I'm a design manager at Figma brand studio team, and today I'm talking with Erik Marinovich, who is the artist who worked with us on our earnings Q1 26 posters.
Thank you, Joe.
So today I'm going to be talking to Erik about the work that we just wrapped up, the earnings posters, and we're going to be drawing each other's like a little gift that we're going to reveal at the end of the video. I'm going to start. Let's just start drawing. I'm interested to know, what did you feel when you got the brief drawing these posters, typographic forward for earnings, for numbers?
First was panic, then was fear. No, just kidding. Pretty excited for an opportunity to, I think, take a lot of the incredible language that I think the Figma brand has been developing that is so playful and creative and ever evolving, taking a stab at what it would look like to, take something on the serious note of earnings and applying some of that creativity that I think oozes out of the Figma brand and injecting that into the Figma earnings.
I'm curious to know a little bit about how do you go about finding a typeface that feels like speaks to the moment, but at the same time it's like pushing it a little bit.
I think at the end of the day, the most honest answer to that question is when you see something you wish you did and you get kind of jealous. There's just like billions and trillions of options, especially when it comes to things like type. Being constantly in search of that space in between categories, especially with display typefaces. And it's hard, it takes a lot of work. I imagine it's probably what a DJ who's going into all these record stores just listening to hours and hours and hours of these random records just to find that 30-second of a song. I think it's the same way with type. Endless kind of curiosity of looking to find something or of a foundry that's creating work that's fresh, because at the end of the day it's the same forms. It's just a series of horizontals, verticals, and curves and diagonals that really make up the composition of letter forms.
It's so graphic, your approach, I think, to typeface. You can tell there's knowledge, but at the same time there's such a graphic quality. And I'm curious to know if do you have any ritual or any guidance in terms of how do you work using typefaces, your own or someone else's, in this case?
Where it all is rooted from is my dad was a bricklayer, and for a while I was apprenticing underneath him. And outside of doing a traditional brick wall, he would do pavers where he's picking stone out of this 2-ton pallet of rock in real time, making a jigsaw puzzle that turned into a pathway. When I think about that, I loved that process when I was working with him, that I find that same process now into my work. So when it comes to typefaces, I think there's just this space in which I get lost. And I think when you get lost, you're in a direction that is feeding your creative soul. And so with that is this idea of just making these shapes work in a way that almost feel like its own art piece, but that you can still use them to, potentially use it as body copy. But I really do find this interesting place of, even if you didn't bother to read it, you would still feel like it's a graphic piece that you would want to stare at, and then maybe you stand back a foot and you're like, oh, it's a word.
Yeah. When do you know that the piece is ready?
Well, sometimes it's related to how much time you have, if it's a client project. But I think if it comes to my own personal practice, it's letting it mature. And what I mean by that is giving it space to breathe, which means a lot of times stepping away, coming back to it the next day with fresh eyes. And that's something that's kind of hard to do because, in this industry of being commercial artists, a lot of it is you got to expedite the output. It's only until recently that I've allowed myself to step back. But regarding knowing when it's just I don't know. You just know when you know. But I do feel like most of the time, it takes a day, maybe a week. And then ultimately, I think I always circle back to that first thing. Joe, how often do you get time to just draw?
I try to sketch as much as I can, but sometimes it's it's hard to find time to just kind of explore.
I go in waves where
Yeah.
I'll be just invest so much energy, either okay, I'm gonna wake up early today or this week and just spend that first hour drawing or practicing, but it's never kind of on a consistent pattern, which that's something I always wish I could get into more of a flow state, but I think life is constantly little hurdles,
Yeah.
One thing that I started to do was I got my record player finally set up, kind of organized my records and made that a point of something that I do as a ritual where I will put on a record and then I'll just draw based on what I'm hearing. So it can be abstract shapes, or it can just be let's get a watercolor set out and I don't know, what kind of colors is this song making me think of? What kind of colors would this song be interpreted as? Those are moments that allow me to separate from all the other things of the day, like the client work, doing my own personal work, is just finding different avenues to I wouldn't say mature my creativity, but just kind of be free of kind of the guardrails that I've set up for myself over the years based on what I like and how I make it and so on. Another ritual would be, this one's so simple and so boring, but walking is allowing myself to totally disconnect, leaving the house without my phone. I have found to be so important as just a place to calm my head and kind of clear some of the distractions or noises of the day.
Okay, so I'll go first. So I love drawing birds, and I make them with these geometric shapes. And I recently realized that they can match the Figma logo. So I was such a nice opportunity of saying thank you in a way that feels personal, but also related to the brand. So I made this little composition of
Joe,
birds, and thank you. Thanks for coming, Erik.
Dude, that's all. Okay, well, all right. For mine, for whatever random reason, I thought about being a kid in a classroom and hanging out with a friend, and that you're kind of doodling their name on your binder while the teacher's talking, and you're just in the zone. And so I felt with the conversation that we had, that was so great. I kind of just took that inspiration of being that sixth grader doodling a friend's name on repeat, and I just had some fun.
Oh my God, that's so cool. That's
doing
amazing.
a little dro moment.
Oh my God, that's so cool.
Yeah, thanks for
perfect.
having me, and really appreciated us just getting to have this discussion about that project, and then getting to know about each other's work more too.
Thanks for coming. I mean, I really appreciate it. I love working with you on the posters, but it's even better to meet you and chat about stuff.
Any reason to sit with a friend and draw is pretty cool.
Yeah. We should do it more often.
Yeah, let's do it. Awesome.
Thanks.